Let's see what's going on in gaming this week.
Ubisoft finally revealed more about their future plans to turn things around by announcing a new subsidiary with Tencent focused on Assassin's Creed, Far Cry and Rainbow Six. The big Chinese gaming giant will invest 1.16 billion euro when the deal closes before the end of the year, and then they will own 25% of this subsidiary, meaning that in the future Ubisoft will have to share 25% of the profits they earn with these franchises with Tencent. But they think it's worth it, because with the Tencent money they can accelerate the plans they already have and even expand them. What they note is that this should further increase the quality of narrative solo experiences, expand multiplayer offerings with increased frequency of content release, introduce free-to-play touchpoints, and integrate more social features. But really, Ubisoft was already doing this. Rainbow Six will go free-to-play with the launch of X in June that will overhaul the game in many ways. A mobile title has been in the works for a long time, so they can now maybe better support that, and maybe increase the amount of content they release every season for Siege. On the Assassin's Creed side,
oh yay, another mobile game coming out, live service or free-to-play. Free-to-play live service, same damn thing. You know, no one asked for any more free-to-play games. I don't recall anybody asking for any mobile games. I know one person that probably would want some more mobile games, and that's just because he's too damn cheap to sit there and go pay for actual real games and be a real gamer again. But, you know, with the whole thing about Tencent, you know, owning 25% and all that, the thing is, Tencent can throw as much money as they want to. If they don't stop Ubisoft from doing their woke BS and doing their horrible story writing, nothing's going to save them. They're going to continue to go downhill. Like Assassin's Creed Shadow, actually a really good game, but the problem is it's not enough to sit there and save Ubisoft on their own. So they're forced to do this. They're forced to give 25% because they need that money to sit there and continue on going. But the problem is if they don't change the way they do things, nothing's going to save them.
we already know that Ubisoft was planning to launch 10 Assassin's Creed games in 5 years, and this also includes an Odyssey-style free-to-play mobile game that is actually made by Tencent. Hopefully with this new deal they can finally release that, because it seems to be already done. We know they plan to launch multiplayer games too, with maybe even a co-op mode for Shadows. So again, this was already the plan and nothing will really change, but this extra focus and money might mean that we get a bigger post-launch support for Shadows and other games, and that they might delay more if necessary, because they really saw that that helped with Shadows. Far Cry is more an unknown. We know 7 was supposed to launch this year but got delayed to 2026, and a multiplayer extraction shooter was rebooted earlier this year. Maybe they will now also make a mobile title, I don't know, but it's clear that there's a ton of untapped potential still with this franchise. Ubisoft will install a dedicated leadership team that will only focus on these 3 franchises instead of overseeing all the projects at Ubisoft. So I think if you are a fan of these games, nothing really changes. This is actually good news, because these plans were already in place, but now they're setting them better up for success. And this hopefully leads to better products and more quality time that we can spend in these games in the coming years. But yeah, what happens to the old Ubisoft?
I don't know, man. I don't know how much hope I can have for Tencent when they want to sit there and push more mobile games. Mobile games are the worst thing ever. They're literally what is ruining gaming. Well, they're one of the things that are ruining gaming. Honestly, mobile gaming is such a joke, it's not even funny.
That is left with all the rest. I've said it before, but I don't think it will end very well. So what they say is that the old Ubisoft will focus on nurturing the development of iconic franchises, including Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon and The Division. They will accelerate the growth of top-performing titles, leveraging disruptive technologies on selected new IPs, while continuing to deliver state-of-the-art production game engines and online services. Okay, that's a lot of words, but I think that the next Ghost Recon game and The Division 3 they started working on last year will continue and probably see the light of day. They will probably also keep their live service games around, like For Honor and Skull and Bones, that are seemingly profitable in terms of post-launch support, even though the money they bring in is likely not a lot. We're now making an Animal Crossing style game that could be pretty big. It's probably one of the few new IPs they will keep around, but for the rest, I think it's kind of over. So beyond Good and Evil 2, the new Rayman game, maybe even the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake, I think it's interesting that they did not mention the Splinter Cell remake. They've been working on that for a long time now. I could totally be wrong about what games they will continue with, but something will...
How the hell is Skull and Bones profitable? That game was terrible at launch. I mean, have they actually fixed the game? Let me know in the comments if they have sat there and fixed that game and made it better. Because I know everyone was screaming and crying how horrible Skull and Bones was. So what, they actually turned it around? I seriously doubt that. I'm going to hold that on hopes. Probably what it is they probably made the game free to play. And then if you spend $5, like, oh, it counts as being profitable. I guarantee you something like that happening. But I don't hold out hopes for like Tencent. This is what I think was going to happen. Ubisoft's going to continue what they're doing. They're going to go under, not make any money whatsoever, and then Tencent's just going to buy them all the way out, and Ubisoft's going to be over with. That's honestly what I think is what's going to happen.
will change because Eve, the CEO, says that we are committed to building a sharper, more focused organization, and you do that by cutting out a lot of the fat. They basically removed the 3 biggest money generators for the old Ubisoft, so for that old Ubisoft unit to make a profit, or at least be in the green, they have to cut costs significantly, and sadly the best way to do that is to close studios and lay off a lot of developers not working on the franchises that make the most money. There's developers on other games, not the big 3, are reportedly worried, and I think rightfully so. We'll hear a lot more in the coming weeks and months, and we'll of course cover it here. Now let's look at other games.
Oh, I agree that they should be rightfully worried. I mean, literally the only money-making ones are going to be sent over to the one with Tencent that they own, and the rest of them, honestly, I think they're going to cancel a lot of the remakes. They're going to sit there and shelve them. They're going to close down the studios, and a lot of people are going to be looking for a new job. It sucks, but this is what happens when, you know, companies sit there and have too much control over what they make, which they're going to because it's their damn company. I'm not going to feel bad if Ubisoft goes under, and I hope no one bails them out. I really don't. I am perfectly fine with another company buying them out and then they don't own it no more, because that's honestly what Tencent needs to do, is just buy them out and say, nope, you're fired. You know, completely get rid of all the people that had creative control over all that crap.
Time for quick shots, news stories I will go over quickly, starting with kind of sad news, although again, you can look at it from a positive angle too. So Bloomberg reports that Warner Brothers cancels the planned Hogwarts Legacy game expansion. And this was seemingly because they were concerned that the amount of content was not substantial enough to justify the price being considered. Look, I would have loved a good reason to return to the game, but they could hurt the good thing they got going if they were going to ask $30 for like 10 hours of new content. Starfield did that last year and that did not go over well, so maybe not burn bridges and focus all the efforts on the sequel that is still in development at the Salt Lake City, Utah-based Avalanche Software, the Warner Brothers subsidiary that developed the first game. I mean, there's enough to play in 2025 anyways, but yeah, now it will mean that we won't get any new Hogwarts Legacy style content until 2027 at the earliest. Let me know what you think of the news in the comments down below.
I would have loved to have had that expansion. Are you kidding me? I would gladly pay $30 for a 10-hour expansion as long as it was good quality. The problem with Shattered Space is that expansion was terrible, but the game itself, the base game, was terrible. I mean, you can't go, well, generally you don't go from a base game that's terrible to a good expansion. I mean, that might happen sometimes. You know, look at No Man's Sky. Base game was completely terrible, and then the expansions were way better.
Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is indeed launching on April 17th, as we discussed before in these Sunday videos, and it's so far seemingly doing very well in pre-orders on the PlayStation Store. So a great start for Microsoft. We also learned how their other games have been selling on PS5 according to Alinea Analytics. So Sea of Thieves was the most popular, followed by Grounded, Hi-Fi Rush, Age of Mythology, and Pentiment. So yeah, that's a lot of extra money for games that Microsoft got all the juice out of on their platform. So we should see even higher numbers for Forza and Indiana Jones, with a Gears of War collection, Doom, Starfield, Hellblade 2, Outer Worlds 2, and maybe even more planned for later in the year. Are you looking forward to any of these Xbox games coming to PS5? Also let me know in the comments down below.
I mean, Microsoft has to sit there and release their games onto the PS5. They had to make their money back somehow. They kept giving them away for free on the Game Pass subscription. Unless games don't make as much money as we all thought. Maybe they're lying to us about how much games actually do cost to make.
Release date updates for games. We should expect The Witcher 4 and Intergalactic before 2027, even though both games were of course announced at the Game Awards, while Ghost of Yotei is once again reconfirming a 2025 release window. Like Death Stranding 2 got the release date 3 months in advance, so I'm thinking during the end of May, early June State of Play or PlayStation Showcase, we hear about the September or early October release date for Ghost of Yotei. I at least can't wait, and will of course keep you posted here. And speaking of Intergalactic, it seems like Naughty Dog has been working on another game for 3 years with Sean S. Sky at the helm. He worked on Uncharted Lost Legacy, then moved to Crystal Dynamics to direct the Avengers game, then he came back to Naughty Dog to work on Part 1, but now 2.5 years later he's still at the studio as a creative director on something else. Like, it's not Intergalactic. You would think it is Uncharted related, as Neil would likely be more involved if this was The Last of Us Part 3, but his hands are full with the TV show and Intergalactic. Now, Naughty Dog also said they were done with Uncharted, but maybe not with remaking those games. Like an Uncharted 1 remake would probably do very well, and seems like a project for Sean after Last of Us Part 1, although a new game like Lost Legacy would of course be way cooler. Now let me know what you think in the comments down below.
No, we need another Uncharted game. No one asked for that Intergalactic Prophet movie, whatever, or Prophet game, whatever you were talking about. No one asked for that. No one was screaming for that. We want another damn Uncharted game. Give us that. We don't want a remake. Well, a remake would be kind of nice. But, you know, you don't really need to remake it. It's from the PS3 time. The graphics aren't that damn terrible. You could give it a remaster and maybe a fresh coat of paint, but a full-blown remake? Hell no. We want another damn Uncharted game. Give us what we want.
We got updated Assassin's Creed Shadows numbers. 1 week after launch, they reached over 3 million players. It was the second highest day one sales revenue in the Assassin's Creed franchise, which huge, with Valhalla of course being number 1. But Shadows did have a better Ubisoft day one on the PlayStation Digital Store ever, which kinda wild. But of course, digital sales have been growing a lot since 2020, and 40 million hours have been played already. In Japan, the game is not doing too hot. It sold 17,701 physical units since release. For comparison, Rise of the Ronin, also a PS5 exclusive, did 64,000 last year. Even Valhalla did way better than Shadows. Ghost of Tsushima is still wild, by the way, at 212,915. And if they compare this to the previous Assassin's Creed games after 1 month, then Shadows should be at 6 million players. Although this time it's different, because the other Assassin's Creed titles of course had huge spikes thanks to Black Friday and Christmas. Shadows does not have that. We'll of course keep you up to date here, as it's interesting to see how healthy the franchise is as we move into the next chapter for Ubisoft. Time for a quick rumor round.
I mean, it is no surprise that they sat there, or it's no surprise that Assassin's Creed Shadows is not selling that well in Japan. Come on, you know, if Japan, if they wanted to sell well in Japan, then they should have not have put Yasuke in there. To be honest, the Japanese people outspoken. They wanted a male Japanese man. It is what it is. You know, I'm perfectly fine with Yasuke. I really do like him. So far, I have no problem with the game. The game is good. I like it better than Odyssey so far, but that's because it's not over. It's just, there ain't too much content. Well, that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.